Perhaps you misunderstood my question.
I understood it perfectly.
Nevertheless, let me rephrase it. I understood from your earlier statements, your husband's rage was domestic in nature. That is to say, directed only at you.
Objection. Counsel is coaching the witness.
Perhaps, Mr. Madison, but I'll let the question stand. Frankly, I'm curious to hear the witness's answer. You may respond to the question.
Your Honor, I have given this whole matter a great deal of thought, and I know I'm under oath. Now, you want the truth, and that's exactly what I am giving you. Without a doubt, my husband was primed to kill that night. And I am convinced anyone who provoked him could easily have become a target. As a matter of fact, I was concerned about Terry as well as myself. And had I known that he was going to have another visitor that evening, I would have been frightened for her.
Thank you, Mrs. Brock. Your Honor, I am afraid that I must ask for an immediate recess.
Objection.
As you may have gathered, this has come as quite a surprise to us.
Surprise or not, I refuse to agree to a recess at this time. That is, of course, my privilege, Your Honor. If the district attorney is finished with this witness, I have every right to cross-examine her, and that is one right I haven't the slightest intention of relinquishing.
Your Honor, under the circumstances, I believe a recess is in order. Mrs. Brock is, in fact, a witness for the prosecution, although her performance here today might well lead you to believe otherwise.
Should the defendant be punished because the prosecution doesn't know its own witnesses?
I am not ready to grant a recess today. Now, if the state has no further questions for the witness, I'll turn the proceedings over to the counsel for the defense.
I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mrs. Brock, my colleague has ably established you as an authority on D.L. Brock. In that capacity, was there ever a time when you observed your husband's homicidal rage directed against the defendant?
Yes. D.L. hated Ginny Blake.
Why?
Chiefly because he felt that she betrayed him when he hired her to frame Rick Weber for taking bribes.
Why did he think that?
Because Ginny wouldn't go through with it, and D.L. never forgave her for that.
Order in the court. I must ask you to refrain from such outbursts. Now, any further disturbance, I shall be forced to clear the court. You may continue.
I think that's more than enough for now, Your Honor. I have no further questions of this witness.
You may step down.
Your Honor, may I repeat my urgent request for a recess?
I was just about to suggest the same thing myself, Counselor. I wish to see you and Mr. Madison in my chambers immediately. Court's recessed for 15 minutes.
All right.
You are brave.
And you worried about Bobbie's lust for revenge?
Well, you weren't sure what she'd say, huh?
Never doubted it for a minute.
Well, I have to admit, from what she'd been saying, I did, but I was certainly very pleased to be proven wrong.
Bobbie?
No, I have yet.
You Spencers really come through in the clinch.
And you keep us guessing right to the last minute, don't you?
I learned from two masters, you and my brother.
This would have been perfect.
Thanks, Robert. All I did was tell the truth.
And that is the beauty of it. You were up there on that stand, you probably thought you were just doing what you had to. It was the only thing to do, right? Bless you for doing it. So, what do you think is happening in the judge's chamber?
I can appreciate your concern. It was painfully obvious that Mrs. Brock's testimony took you by surprise.
He wasn't the only one.
No, I imagine you were pleasantly surprised. Now, her testimony certainly supports your contention that her husband's death was a case of justifiable homicide. Don't you agree?
Well, frankly, at this point, I don't know what to think.
I feel it only fair to warn you I'm leaning toward the defense even before they present their case.
Well, under the circumstances, I can't say I blame you. Bobbie Brock certainly sabotaged my case.
The question is it salvageable?
As in, let's not forget the defendant's husband. Dr. Rick Weber is a very respected member of this community. Ginny Blake herself has built an excellent reputation for herself as a television journalist.
We are prepared to bring character witnesses to support that.
Yes, I'm sure you can bring a parade of them, if that should prove necessary. And we might also do well to consider Mrs. Brock. You know, though it had to have been tremendously difficult for her to get on the stand and testify like that against her husband, she did it without hesitation. The woman told the truth. I, for one, admire her for it. And that's why we're here, isn't it? To uncover the truth?
Absolutely, and this new evidence presented by Mrs. Brock clearly alters the state position. In fact, at this very moment, the prosecution is considering a motion for dismissal.
Yes, I thought it might be.
In light of the striking developments, the state has come to believe justice will be best served if the charges against the defendant are dropped immediately.
No, that's a very wise decision, but let's not go overboard here. You know, there are other charges pending against Ginny Blake, which we must review. As for murder, too, I think we've reached an agreement on that, haven't we?
How are you supposed to be taking so long in there?
I don't know. I can only suspect that it will help you.
Can you believe what Bobbie said on the stand? Rick, she didn't have to testify like that. She could have sent me away. She chose not to. Why?
She has a lot of integrity, Ginny. I've known her for a long time. I have never respected her more than I do now.
Oh, who knows? It still may mean nothing. What she said may not amount to much of anything.
It does to me.
Order in the court. Will the court officers please summon all those with business herein? This session is about to resume.